We are back, and a very special podcast. We're back with Jamie Lissow on See What Happens, the podcast where you see what happens. Today, on our, we're introducing a terrific comedian. I have to say, from England, yes. from the UK, and which is not Ireland at all, by the way. I know the Irish people get very angry if you include them in the UK, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So this is my friend Andrew Doyle, and we should probably explain how we met. There's only a few comedy heroes that I have. I almost had lunch with John Cleese.
Almost had lunch.
Almost had lunch with him. I've met him a few times. I'm sure he doesn't remember, but I just couldn't make it. I was just so tired from my shows in Miami. He's recovering from another one of his surgeries. I hope he's not addicted to surgeries, but like some joint thing he's replacing, you know.
Oh,
but so I didn't make it. But like he's one of my heroes. Another one of my heroes is this, and that's the best comedy of the 20th century. Monty
Who
Python.
do you go to lunch with if you turn down your hero on a Saturday?
Well, let me explain that. So Terry Jones passed away this morning or last night or something. Is that what? And that's like a gigantic, horrible loss because Monty Python's the high mark of comedy in the 20th century. It changed comedy. It was the Beatles of comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, the Beatles were after the Beatles. It was to me, it was Monty Python.
Yeah, it's really sad.
And Terry Jones directed 3 of those movies and was a core member of Monty Python, and he passed away. And but what I'm trying to introduce you, we can talk about that. Okay. But but my buddy, who's like one of my real heroes, I think one of the American icons of comedy, is one of the original writers of Saturday Night Live and producers, and probably the most prominent writer to ever come out of Saturday Night Live. One of the Harvard guys, along with John Hughes, the guy who wrote Caddyshack, and the guy who wrote can't think of his name now. We got to look that up, will you? And then is Jim Downey. So Jim Downey called me. Just literally, like, I remember, like, he was giggling like he does, like when he's like as a little boy, where he can barely speak, and he was reading me these tweets off of Twitter, and that you wrote under your. I guess we can give it away now. People might know.
Yeah.
Under Titania McGrath, which is an incredible name, and the jokes. I mean, the tweets that were so well formed, and the responses that you gave were just absolutely brilliant. And so that's why. I mean, to me, it was like this approval,
right?
Like from like the comedy god, and so and then the fact that he memorized them was like phenomenal. I said, I got to meet this guy.
For people that don't know, what is that profile?
It's a satirical character that I made up for Twitter, who's like a young intersectional feminist who's really sort of, she wants to be offended by everything, and she's very rich. You know, she's really privileged, but she thinks she's oppressed. She thinks she's a victim. She hates men, particularly straight white men. And so she's that kind of very recognizable woke figure, you know, because that word now has come to mean that kind of person. I know it used to be to do with the black civil rights movement, but it's been misappropriated by this new sort of social justice
cult. And there's a guy, Peter Boghossian. Do you know him?
Yes, I do know him. Yeah.
He just wrote this book that was called How to Have Conversations.
It's great. How to have impossible conversations.
Yeah,
it's really good.
How to have impossible conversations.
You know, I mean, he's that book. He wrote that book with James Lindsay, and the whole thrust of the book is like basically people aren't talking to each other anymore. You know, you know, I mean, that's what Twitter is. Everyone's just throwing insults and getting angry, and no one's really listening. And so he wrote this book, and it makes some really great points about, you know, how, you know, what do you do when someone just assumes the worst of you? And one of the best pieces of advice I read in that book is when he says, if you're going to make any assumption about the person you're debating with, the assumption should be that their intentions are better than you think, which I think is really
I like that. And also
nice.
just, to really, to listen and to be and to let them know that you're not attacking them.
Right, and that's what I wanted to do with Titania, is that she's always on the attack.
Yeah.
And she will find something that you've said, even if you said the most innocuous thing, like maybe you've ordered some Brussels sprouts, she'll find a way to make it that this is like you're having a dig at vegans or something. She'll find some way to imply that you're this sort of reactionary monster, when of course that's what she is.
Yes, I know, like, but the exact thing, I mean, that's what, this idea of liberalism and conservatism at its zenith, they're back to back screaming about the same thing.
Right.
I mean, it's just. But I really thought that, like, I mean, because I'm a San Francisco liberal. I don't know what the hell that means exactly.
I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
It just means I would grow up in San Francisco.
Means you're a liberal, but
liberal. I mean, just because liberal by birth.
Right. Okay.
I was born in the epicenter of gay rights.
Yeah.
All my heroes were all gay teachers at San Francisco State. And so I just assumed during the Carter administration that before Reagan came in, that things were going to continue to get better and more liberal. Mm-hmm. And then the conservative movement, and I guess it was the moral majority kind of swept in. And then Reagan, who was an actor, kind of went along with it.
Yeah.
And then we had this conservative movement. And I just would assume that would go its way. But it seemed like in some weird way that the offshoot of that ended up being some sort of form of conservatism under the guise of liberalism.
So, like, because we in England, we I think we've got a different definition of liberal, right? Is that right? Like,
okay.
where in Britain, the idea of being liberal is you support free speech, you support freedom of choice, you support the free market, you support basically individual liberty.
Yeah,
I think over here, does liberal sort of mean more left wing or?
Well, no, it's been usurped by the conservative media as left wing, but liberal. I mean, who wouldn't want to be liberal?
Right.
It's just what happens. I think what happened is it's just like the word rape no longer means rape, because when they use it with like environmental rape or language, you're raping. It's like it's all of a sudden the words no longer, they become devalued.
It's a thing called concept creep. It's really dangerous, right?
Yeah.
And you that's why the one we all know about is Nazi, right?
Oh yeah,
that used to have quite a specific meaning.
Yes, it really did. It means eliminating Jews.
All of that.
It's a yes, yeah.
Those
or
people
gypsies,
or
gypsies
homosexuals.
Also. It started to spread out. You're not just killing Jews; you're killing gays and gypsies now.
Well,
and but then, and I think that was its core meaning. Well, if you belonged to the Nazi Party between 1932, or if you were a stormtrooper before they did the purge, then in 1945, unless you escaped to Argentina, that was the core meaning of Nazism.
You're so right. You could today say I got raped by a Nazi, and it could just mean they overcharged you at a place with rigorous rules.
Yeah, like. Exactly. It used to be those people who went goose stepping in the Hugo Boss outfits, right? And now what it means very specific. It could be anything. Now it's the slightest point of political disagreement. And it
could be used for either term. It could be used for either side.
Yeah.
Conservatives call liberals Nazis.
Yeah.
You liberal Nazi. And then, of course, liberals feel very comfortable calling conservative a Nazi.
Yeah.
Because they feel they're closer to it. When actually, I don't know if Nazism was National Socialist, so it was a form of socialism that was just the dictatorial form of socialism.
I mean, that's pushing it. They were.
Well, they could by name. They were called National Socialists. I'm not exaggerating.
But
I don't think whatever they could be called. I mean, they were all in on it together.
Yeah.
Except for the Jews and gypsies and homosexuals.
But I think that's like that concept creep is, like.
I like that term, concept creep.
There was a Blair White pointed this out the other day. She was saying that whenever like the words racist, homophobe, sexist, whenever she sees them now, she always assumes it's not true, and she says that's really dangerous.
Yes, it is,
because we have to be able to use those words appropriately, right?
Right.
So for a while, you the word racist, it started being bandied about so promiscuously. Like anyone who said anything, they could just say it. So now it doesn't work anymore. People don't care if you call them racist now, which is really bad. So now they go to white supremacist.
Oh yeah,
There was a tweet today by an American activist, and a feminist activist, and she said that stay-at-home moms who want to look after the kids and be housewives, that's a form of white supremacy. It's a white supremacist.
Is that an American?
I'm afraid so.
I apologize.
It's your people.
Who is that bringing down our side?
It's a woman called Becca Lou.
God, please tell me she's not a comedian.
No, she did a terrible study, and the reason I know her, I did a tweet about her today as Titania. The reason I know about her, she did this study called the Alternative Influence Network, where she basically created one of those flowcharts to connect anyone who's remotely sort of people like Jordan Peterson or people like Tim Pool, who's the activist journalist, a good guy. Yeah. And she found 7 degrees of separation all the way over to the white supremacists like David Duke and Richard Spencer, and basically saying they're all the same.
That's anybody on the planet.
Anybody on the planet.
Like you can do
even she's probably in there somewhere, you know. And it's like, and I know from watching conspiracy theory films, whenever you see someone with a flowchart, that's the person you don't trust. Like that's the crazy person right there. And she tweeted out today that it's a dog whistle for white supremacists to say, as a woman, you want to stay at home and look after your kids. That's honestly what she said in a tweet today. Absolutely nuts, right?
That's where we're at. But I don't think...
I can't believe I just found out my ex-wife's a white supremacist.
I know, isn't that sad?
Startling.
Yeah, you want to watch out for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't believe my
wife... In fact, you should end that. Like, I wouldn't be comfortable
I can't believe my wife is a white supremacist and she's Mexican.
That's crazy.
That's even worse. That happens a lot, though. Yeah. You know, some of the worst white supremacists are people of color.
You'll find it. So, let's get to that. So Jim calls me, and then I literally... He was reading me. He had memorized your tweets. This is the great Jim.
That's so flattering.
And then I literally pulled over into a parking lot because I was laughing so hard. And then I said, I got to meet this guy. And I said, and so we ended up.
Did you guys almost go to lunch? What did you guys do?
We did. We went to.
He loves almost going to lunch with people. It's like his thing.
So we almost went to lunch. We had some coffee.
Nice.
And then we should call this almost went to lunch. Christian. So, but anyway, and then we did, and then I started going over your tweets more. My favorite thing though is that like when you have like people who don't get the joke, that's the thing about like comedy, is like there's an assumption that like that everyone makes their own self assumption that they all have a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
If you one thing, it's when people be very honest with like if you ask them, are you a good chef? Or do you cook? It's, well, not really. Do you know how to cook Chinese food? No, I don't. Never done it. But you do but if you ask somebody, if you ask somebody, are you, do you find yourself very literate in Shakespeare? They go, no, I'd actually, a little bit in school, but I've done some Cliff Notes. But if you ask somebody, do you have a good sense of humor?
Yeah.
Or if you speak good Spanish, they might say no. But you ask them, do you have a good sense of humor? Everyone will say yes, because I guess a sense of humor goes to the core of intelligence, to your how you view of yourself, and goes to your ego. So I say yes, of course I have a good sense of humor.
Is that related to where you would never find out someone's a doctor and you could be like, oh, my brother's trying to be a doctor? Is that why people go, my brother should be a comedian? Like no one says that about like a surgeon. Like you never go like, oh, my brother'd be a great surgeon
as well.
But people do say like, oh, he'd be a great. They just assume.
But I'm saying that it comes to what the core of who they are as a person. So they clearly, I'm saying like, just like not everybody can be a good chef or cook Chinese food, which is hard to do. But like not everyone has a great sense of humor, or cultured, or varied, or has like it's like a language,
Mm-hmm.
And so but people but not everybody does. And so like for instance. I really like, my favorite things is when I go over your Twitter with Titania McGrath on Twitter, and I see like you saying something outrageous that has a veil of legitimacy,
right? So some of the
responses.
Yeah, well, sometimes what happens is every now and then I'll put out a tweet that's deliberately provocative, but you could sort of believe. In fact, I did it this morning. Let me give you an example, right? So this is an example. So she got lots of responses to this, right?
Is part of the fun that some people know. And they get to watch the people that don't know?
That's the fun.
That's it. So I've never tweeted where some people don't think it's real, right? So here's an example. So she tweeted out, all animals are naturally vegan. The food chain is a myth
I saw this.
created by men to justify eating meat, right? So the food chain is a myth. And then
that's beautiful.
And then
come a cornerstone of Western science.
And then this one person, I've got lots of replies. One person is saying, no, cats' spiky teeth are perfectly adapted to catching and holding prey, as well as chewing through tough skin and crunching up on bones. And then Titania replied saying, nonsense, all of my pet cats have been vegan. I tend to get a new one every few months because cats have such a short lifespan, unfortunately. But what she's done, like what I do, like you can see, I repost all of
it exposes your animal abuse.
Yeah,
she's an animal abuse.
So I repost all of I screenshot all these debates she has.
My favorite thing is when someone has like a very calm mild retort and disagrees with your, white privilege statement or whatever, and you just go, reported.
Yeah, or blocked. Yeah, or to the police, report to the police.
And that, to me, it's just another it's a great punchline. To me, it's using Twitter the way it should be used. I mean, in as far as in a short, brief, really funny thing that some people get and some people don't.
Well, it's that you have to know the sort of person that's being satirized, and also you have to not be that person. Because the people who hate the character and really hate me now are the people who are being satirized. They're the ones who say this is not funny or this is disgusting and all the rest of it.
Or what they're really saying, this is exposing us.
Right. Because that's what they do. I find it hilarious that you've got all these quite well-off people screaming about how oppressed they are, who talk about being liberal and being open and being on the right side of history, but they do that. They report you if you say the wrong thing. They block you if you've got a different point of view. They don't want to discuss. They don't want to debate. They want hate speech laws. They want to get rid of the First Amendment. But we're liberal. We're the good guys. No, you're not. You're the authoritarians, right? So
yes. Now we have this. First of all, our institutions, which are really, really important as far as institutions and the. Are just like our First Amendment.
Right.
These are just concepts. These are just, it's in our Constitution, but it has to be breathed, the life of this has to be breathed by the citizens, Yeah. I mean, de Tocqueville talks about that when he came to America and talked about the freedom of speech, which is very an original idea of and the population. And he said it was in the spirit of the people that they could feel that they could really, expressed grievances against their government, and he said that it was alive. So in that very much a way of if you attack it, and if it continues to be under attack, and if people start to question it, and to start to do what's the worst form of censorship is self-censorship, then it undermines these institutions that we have. And now, how does that work? Because in England, first of all, I should mention you're a terrific comic, and I had the pleasure of watching you perform with me.
Thank you, Rob.
Last summer, was it already a year?
Yeah, almost a year, not quite, but
okay.
Yeah.
And you were terrific, and the audience who over here who didn't know you loved you, and you did great.
Thank you.
And I hope are you going to be performing here in Los Angeles?
I'm not. What's really interesting about that is because the cultural references are different, so you have to sort of rethink what you're doing.
Yes, but you did great though. But you know what the thing about it was that's the thing about American audiences, and I will say this not to pick on the English. I know it's your language, and we're bastardizing it for
you stole
a couple of centuries, but
cultural appropriation, right there.
Absolutely, the worst form of cultural appropriation is to take your language and do our own thing with it. But I will say that Americans in general love the English and love English humor, and I have embraced it. You will have an English actor come over or an Australian actor, but particularly English for most of the 20th century. They will be, whether it's a Laurence Olivier or whomever, they will embrace them, give them an Academy Award, but you will be hard pressed to ever get an American to win a BAFTA.
It's true, and the downside of that is...
They've done it.
They definitely have, but I think the downside of that is sort of quite bad English actors can do very well over here because the accent sort of disguises their inability to perform.
I was not gonna say that, but I'm glad you did. But I do think that there was I did see some play, a Tennessee Williams play in the West End.
Yeah.
And I did hear the worst Southern accent.
No, I heard it was a Southern accent. It was like, no, please don't leave me. And is that as an Australian accent?
We can't do American accent.
What is it about?
Well, there are some people that can do it. They're pretty darn good.
Oh yeah, but I can't tell the difference between the way you're speaking now and say someone in New York.
But there is that elitist thing that is particularly, and I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about the media and Meghan Markle. And
this list is getting longer and longer. How long is this podcast?
We're gonna have to do a double one.
It's okay.
But the elitism to me was off the charts.
Yeah.
And when I did a movie there for 6 months back in the 90s, and I found it, first of all, thrilling to be there. Because I got to meet John Cleese, I got to it was my comedy hero, and I also got to it was amazing because on the film set, we're working on TV shows or a film set, there'll be a couple of funny guys, whatever, and then but in England, everyone on the set was hilarious.
Oh, really?
The second AD was funnier than me every day of the week. He had something funny to say, and it's just a way of just doing it, and it was a wonderful, beautiful wordplay. And just an edge to that, and I think that goes back to my theory of how England didn't become part of the Marshall Plan after World War II. So they were still rationing into the 50s.
Yeah.
And they fucking won the war. And you got like Germany and Japan had rebuilt their societies better because they got all this money coming in. Where the English and like, that great, movie that Michael Palin made called A Private Function.
I haven't seen that.
Which is about these farmers, there's the people still rationing, and this one guy getting a pig.
Oh, I have seen it.
And they're like, it was a beautiful movie.
No, I have. Sorry, yeah.
It's those Ealing comedies in the 50s had a certain edge and a realism to them, and a wonderful, I thought very advanced humor to that.
Yeah,
and I think that's because of what happened. Of they were still economically depressed and under stress. And I think, and when you came to that comedy that finally came out of the Footlights with Peter Cook and Dudley Moore, 1961, and then that was watched by Eric Idle, and John Cleese, and Michael Palin and Terry Jones. When they saw that you could actually that here was this guy, Peter Cook, making fun of the monarchy, making fun.
Yeah, if you listen to some comedy, Peter Cook and Dudley Moore's stuff from back in the day, it's shocking even by today's standards. Like some of that stuff.
Oh, the Derek and Clive.
Yeah, like, there's no way they'd get away with that stuff now.
That is the foundation of where comedy came, and then that influenced. And so it was very much like a David Frost, and I remember those guys wrote for David Frost, and it was like The Year That Was, or the 1940s show, and then which led to Monty Python.
It's eventually really puncturing. It's going after the status quo, and it's going after the establishment.
Yes,
that's really the tradition.
Questioning undermining the establishment,
which is what the English tradition. That's what Monty Python were doing. They were going after the stuff. That's what Joe Orton was doing in his plays.
Oscar Wilde.
Yeah, absolutely. Like even someone who comes from privilege like him, he could detect the hypocrisy of his own class.
That's it. Yeah, the hypocrisy of his own class, and to make fun of it because it needs to be undermined. I mean, that's what to me the classic liberalism is like, and in its truest form, it should be it's an egalitarian equality.
Right.
Now, but tearing down other people to be your equal, I think is where it kind of goes awry. And I just never saw, like in my lifetime, I've never seen this form of so-called liberal used as a way to like attack other people and bring them down.
It's not liberal. It's not liberal. I mean,
why isn't it liberal? Though?
Right, because if you're part of this social justice movement, which sounds wonderful, doesn't it? Who's not for social justice, right? But it's not. No, it's a fig leaf for something quite toxic. If you believe that other people should shut up, that they shouldn't have their freedom of speech, that they shouldn't be able to say what they want, that you're going to police the way, this is an illiberal position.
Yes,
it's 100% the opposite of liberal. But what's worse about it is it uses the language of liberalism.
Yes,
that's why it's so.
That's why it's insidious and dangerous.
That's exactly what it is. And that's the thing. That's why I wanted to mock it, because these are important causes: anti-racism, anti-sexism, anti-homophobia, which we can all get behind, and it makes those causes look stupid.
Yeah, misogynistic.
Right. It makes it look stupid.
Right.
When you say, we're going to protect women by looking after them as though they're children. We had in the BBC in our country, the main broadcaster, they promoted an app for the smartphone to help women to speak up in meetings. It would give you a little notification saying you haven't spoken enough. So go on, little girl, say something else. Right? Now that to me is the opposite of feminism. Feminism's about empowerment and strength. It's not about women are weaker, they need a leg up. Women are just what it is. It's misogyny masquerading as feminism.
It is exactly the putting down on what they're trying to lift up.
Right. And so I think if you believe in equality and empowerment, the social justice movement is not for you. To be honest.
But what is it then? Because the thing about it, it's under the guise of equality, but they don't want equality. They don't want to be equal. What they want is equity.
Right.
They want something they want like payback, or they want something more than, because they feel like, like the white male has had it, and you've had a good time, and it has been a good run. I think its days are over, but it has been a good run. But now
you've pinpointed it right there. Like even that statement is really flawed. The white male. What does that mean?
I know exactly.
Do you mean the Bill Gates? Or do you mean the guy who's living on the street who can't afford shoes? Which white male do you mean?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Which they're not.
It's a form of, again, when we talk about, because Martin Luther King Day, which is Monday, which is a national holiday, which was a struggle to get a national holiday, and it is. And I was just listening to his speeches the other day. It's the idea is equality for all people, not put one people down for others, and that they want to be treated equally regardless of skin color.
That I Have a Dream speech is one of the most powerful, rhetorically brilliant. If you read, it merits reading carefully.
Oh, yeah.
It's but also that sentiment can't be overestimated. Like that sentiment of we judge by the content of our character, not the color of our skin.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what the social justice movement want to undermine and undo. And this is why I say that the woke movement is a reactionary movement, because what it's saying is all the achievements of the civil rights, which was all about equality, all about free speech, and that goes for gay rights, black rights, women's rights. They want to unpick that. And they want to make it about no. We make the judgment based on your demographic, on your immutable characteristics, and then we go from there. It's undoing all of that powerful work.
It's things you can't help.
Right.
You're guilty of already.
Yeah. Except if you're white, old, a boomer, whatever the phrase.
know.
Damn, I'm starting to feel bad about this app I was working on. No.
What's your app?
It's it goes off when a woman's story is getting too long, and now I'm starting to think that also goes against.
I know.
This.
And it also, what it does is like,
you need to send me that app. That's good.
Let's get to the thing, because I think about it like, because you guys don't have freedom of speech in the UK.
Well,
I mean, isn't it like it's not codified in any
so we don't have
parliamentary?
We don't have a written constitution. You'd have thought someone would have thought to write that down. We've got an unwritten constitution, right?
We have one because you guys didn't.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
It was wise. That was a good idea. So our we do have a constitution, but it is uncodified. So it's sort of nebulous. It's out there in the air somewhere.
Really?
Yeah. And so what that means is it's based on precedent. And what that means is people can kind of reinterpret it as they go along. And we had that recently in Parliament with our Speaker, John Burkow, who kept just changing the rules because it's not written down, so you can do that. So we do need an equivalent to a First Amendment. Somehow we need that locked down. There are problems with having a written constitution because then it's endlessly reinterpreted by the judiciary. Right? That's not good either. But
it is what it is at least it's a foundation.
Sure. No, I love your First Amendment. Right? I'm not. I think it's great. We don't have. So we have a situation where I think we do have free speech broadly, but like you were saying earlier. With the people who are now calling for the First Amendment to be changed so that hate speech isn't covered by it, right? And of course, hate speech doesn't mean anything. It's whatever you decide is hate speech,
right? Well, that's a tough part. That's why I think over here, I think it's been defined by very liberal. I mean, Noam Chomsky, who is probably, arguably the smartest American.
That's a genius, obviously.
He's the professor emeritus of linguistics at Harvard.
Yeah,
and a great, a classic liberal. And he just said, like, you're either for all of it or none of it.
Right.
With free speech. Even the stuff that you despise or that disgusts you have to protect all of it or for none of it, and that's just the way that you have to do it. So in England, that's tougher though, because
you have to be. That's the thing about you have to be vigilant to protect it. Like I say, we're not facing a free speech crisis at the moment, but if we're not vigilant, we'll lose our freedoms. Like even that joke you told about the app there. I mean, that I could say, well, that upset me. Mm-hmm. That's misogynist, so that's hate speech in my view.
Right.
I should probably explain how it works in Britain because I don't know.
Please turn down your mic just a little bit, Jamie.
I don't think
that's why it took me this long to tell that joke. I was thinking about the repercussions.
Well, yeah,
I swear to God.
You could actually be arrested in London though for that. Now let me explain why.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So we're going to take just a little short break here, and then we're going to get back into this.
Okay. We can edit that out, right?
Change the cameras. Okay. Take a little break and be right back and see what happens with talking to Andrew Doyle and my buddy Jamie Lissow. We'll be right back. And do you have any? We should probably give some dates. We'll give up dates and where people are performing. And we're going to plug your book, and we come right back on See What Happens. If you're listening to the podcast, we want you to know this is also available on YouTube. See What Happens podcast, so you can check that out too. Or just listen while you're driving your FedEx truck. We're going to read some of Andrew's tweets right now. Jamie, why don't you read the first one?
All right. Let me just, here we go.
These are some of the ones that he says that Andrew Doyle said got him in trouble. Here we go.
As the character Titania, McGrath. I have absolutely no desire to impregnate a male. But if I ever change my mind, I won't allow some scientist to tell me that I can't.
Very good. I can see where that can cause some problems. Okay, here's another one by Titania McGrath. Speaking or writing in English is an act of colonial violence. I can see how people can get like, now what are you talking about? I said it's your language. You know.
These are very popular. These tweets. You see some of these have a lot of retweets.
There you go.
A lot of likes.
Next week, I'll be doing another slut walk to raise awareness about Islamophobia. DM me for details. Okay, what you can do the next one.
I believe in free speech so long as the state is allowed to arrest those who say the wrong thing. His DMs must be filled with. It's got to be amazing.
People, yeah. And Jamie, you read the last one, so I don't get.
I almost want to hear it in your voice. Should we have this anonymous person read it?
No, you do it. Come on, you're here already. Do the last one, Jamie.
You don't have. There's a lot of stuff in this office. You don't have a voice changer, do you? So this is retweeting a picture.
Yeah.
And it's retweeting.
We're going to show this picture.
Okay.
And you talk and you sing.
So it's retweeting a thing from Demetrius. That person tweeted, "My Santa Claus is black." And it's a picture of a nice African American Santa Claus. Great picture. And then Titania McGrath, not me, tweeted, "This is so racist. I can't believe they've cast a black actor as Santa just because he breaks into people's houses at night." I don't get that one.
Well,
as soon as you said, I hope we don't get in trouble, I have never been more sure that people are going to pretend we said these things.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It's going to be like ours. We're quoting somebody. We're quoting Titania McGrath.
We need like a watermark on the video.
Okay. All right, we're back. I'm here with my buddy Andrew Doyle and, of course, the great Jamie Lissow. And we're talking about the book by Titania McGrath, I should say, called Woke. We'll get a shot of that. And A Guide to Social Justice. Really, it's a bludgeon to social justice, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I
Let me just read this one part. Cultural appropriation. Thief of culture. You slither ham style with dreadlocked hands, clenching in a calypso chokehold of binditry. Moistened by an ego semi-fried in foreign oils, withdrawing into striptease fissures of night. You'll never be Aswad. Plunder beast of history, my ancestors scream in your hollow wigwam. Ghost strolling in the ectoplasm of your hate. I staunch the flow of simpering tribal sauce. A digital sombrero clings deaf-blind to a face falsely smeared in a coalish hue. Filcher of rice. Parades of prom time in a fraudulent frock. A gurning juggernaut of stunted envy. Appropriating my soul, my gaylord shoes. The death minstrel who leaps backwards onwardly, washing away the past with your piss of lies.
Should explain,
Yes,
it's
please.
interspersed with poetry. She's a slam poet.
Yeah.
You know these poets that do like...
No, but you could do this. You could perform that. A woman could perform that. And people applaud that, right?
It's not a poetry book, but I put those in between the chapters.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think they're so deeply pretentious.
Yeah.
You know, I love watching slam poetry. You know, it's terrible, isn't it? Let's be honest, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And like they do this thing where they start it by going, they take this big long pause and a deep breath as though what they're about to utter is the essence of profundity. And all it is they're just pausing in odd places. And you know, it's not poetry. I'm sorry, I sound like a snob now.
No, it's not. It's not. You know what it is? It's a group think where they're just doing this thing that is just it's almost like a 12-step program where they're kind of helping each other along with this thing.
Yeah,
and there's no longer I wouldn't say that their judgment is gone at this point to really judge anything good or bad or whatever.
That's what it bothers me about
groupthink, right?
It's groupthink, but it's more than that. It's cultish. So that if you're
it is cultish.
If you don't believe in the groupthink, you're a heretic, and you must be purged. And that's why I think the only way you can make sense of it is to see it as a cult. Because if you think about it, they believe that they've sort of got the divine right, that they're the only ones who have the truth. Anyone who's outside it needs to be cancelled. That's where you get this cancel culture. It's just a reversion of the early days of Christianity. You know, it's a new. It's like
it is a new religion.
It most definitely is, and it also means there's no room for reason. It's all about faith. You know, they talk about power structures in society. They talk about institutional power. They're things that you cannot quantify, because it's like talking about your spirits or your God, or you know, it's that
there's some foundational thinking there is unquestionable.
Right.
You cannot if you question it, then you are a heretic,
But
right?
that's why-
and you're going to be attacked. That's why they attack their own. Like Louis C.K. was a champion of the liberal intelligentsia until he wasn't.
Oh, yeah, because if you step out of line slightly, you're a heretic. That's how it works.
Yeah.
And that's why it's okay. Like, one of the reasons I really oppose the social justice movement is because I see it as legitimizing bullying. It bullies people. It trawls through everything you've ever said, and it'll try and find something to destroy you, destroy your livelihood.
yeah.
It'll call you the worst names, the most horrible, personal, invidious stuff. And it will do it with a smile and say that this is the good thing, right? In the way that the early Christians used to burn people at the stake with a smile, because they'd say, we're burning you out of love. That's what they would say, because and they genuinely thought they were doing God's work, right?
Yeah.
And similarly, I think the people who try and cancel you today think they're the good guys.
No,
and they're not.
That's very interesting, because when you talk about like the people who founded America, or these intolerant people who were kicked out of Europe, when you're too when the Germans say, we've had enough of you, you got to leave this country, and so what the very conservative Christian sect that came over to America, their thinking was, the pre-Baptists, which were the Calvinists, their view of the world was like, people who are going to go to heaven are us, we're the good ones, and the people who are going to go to hell are clearly these natives. So if they're going to go to hell anyway, let's just burn them now. Cut out the middleman.
Nothing you can do. They believed in that predestination thing, right? They believed that, you're either elect or you're damned, and there's nothing you can do.
And it's decided, and we're the good guys, obviously. And so I do think there is that religious... but how do we... I mean, so I guess what this does is like anything. It has its peaks, and it has its... Obviously, it's like... There was a run here in America of like... back in the 20s, and finally peaked out in the early 30s, of abolition of the we had the alcohol,
the prohibition.
I'm sorry, prohibition, and that ran its course. And I was thinking, hopefully, with the attack on language and attack on civil liberties in the guise of this socialistic liberalism expansion, which is really just a communist attack on language
the reason
and people.
why I don't think it... I try to be optimistic, but the reason why I don't think it's just going to run its course in that way is because at its foundation, it's based on a fantasy. It's based on this fantasy that we live in this crypto-fascist world, right? And
explain that a little bit.
Okay, so if you're part of this movement and you believe that... Let me give a political example. Sorry to get all political. If you believe that anyone who votes for Donald... If you believe that the country is rife with fascists, if there are fascists everywhere, right? Right? And you also simultaneously believe that if you vote for Donald Trump, that proves that you're a fascist. When he wins, instead of reflecting and saying, "Oh, where did we go wrong?" you say, "That's proof of my premise. I proved it." But it's a kind of circular reasoning.
I know, as if you can. I mean, we only have a two-party system over there. I mean, one thing about I do like more in the sense of a parliamentary system is that they do have to work together in groups, and you can have other parties that rise. So really, the idea that you can just group all of Americans into these two groups of parties,
you can't.
You can't. And the idea that like maybe someone who would vote for Donald Trump and agree, that doesn't mean you agree with his behavior, his outlandish, boorish behavior, but you may agree with more policies of Republicans, and you could also want to have a different administration, because Americans have only had the same administration in other words, a Democrat administration in the executive branch, president. They've only had it 3 times in a row, the same party. That's only happened like 3 terms in a row. It's only happened 3 times in the last century, because Americans know that I just think they know intrinsically that it's a rigged system to have a 2-party system. So they want to kick one out, bring in the next guys no matter what.
They want to shake things up. We had this in the UK with the general election this year, where die-hard Labour, which would be the equivalent of Democrats.
They were very desperate.
They voted for the Tories. So it would be the equivalent of die-hard Democrats voting for Republicans.
I think so too, but they didn't see it coming. Like this,
no.
It was a landslide. And truthfully, like, I know that Johnson is Boris Johnson is accused of also similar boorish behavior, but not as crazy as as Donald Trump, not as outlandish.
No, it's not comparable, really.
No, it's not comparable. But just the fact that he's accused of it at all says something to this minutia of it in England, that you're guilty by association. But just being a conservative, you're an asshole over there, according to the liberals.
Well, if
you're a Tory, you're an asshole. You're automatically.
When people say, that's the problem. Like, traditionally, people on the left have always... Well, okay, so
Yeah, that is a problem.
People on the left have always traditionally thought of right-wingers and conservatives as evil and diabolical, whereas right-wingers have always seen lefties as just stupid and a bit naive, which is a bit nicer. It's a bit patronising, but it's a bit nicer.
It is, but,
right?
but I tell this is what kills that in England, if I can interrupt.
Yeah,
Is that, sorry, here in America, all you have to mention is that Lincoln was a Republican, and then they lose their shit because they go, no. Yeah, but Lincoln, don't you know that the party's changed in the 1920s and all?
Yeah. Because he was the one who got rid of slavery, right? So that's that can't be.
He was the one who got rid of slavery. You can't undo that. And so the Abolition Proclamation of 1863. So, but the problem was that even if you go to civil rights, there were still 80 in 1960. I mean, this is 100 years later.
Yeah,
1964. There were still 80 Democrats that opposed the civil rights bill that Johnson wanted to put in 1964.
It's almost as though there's shades of grey and that people have different.
Yes, isn't that amazing?
And isn't it weird?
Like not everybody thinks the same.
So, what do you like? Are you? Sorry, personal question, Jamie. Are you left wing or right wing? Where do you situate yourself?
For sure left leaning, but more leaning towards not caring.
Do you ever find yourself though agreeing with not necessarily Trump, but like maybe conservative speakers or conservative
an idea from a conservative?
Yeah,
sure.
Someone who's more conservative, like me, maybe.
Sure.
So that because if you can't do that, like if. Whenever I talk to, and I do make an effort to talk to social justice people.
Yeah, if you can't be malleable in your thinking,
like if I meet a genuine social justice person who's I don't know, like a non-binary lactose intolerant vegan, as soon as they tell me that, I know what their opinion is about everything. Like they're never going to surprise me, and I have the long conversations that I knew you were going to say that,
Yeah.
And what it is you're talking to an ideology, not a human being.
Yes,
and that means you're not thinking for yourself. So I find
they're regurgitating these same.
Right, they've got a party line,
group think, speak,
and I feel it's incumbent on me to talk to people I don't agree with. Partly because I want to refine what I believe, but most importantly, I'm almost certainly going to be wrong about a lot of stuff, and I want to know why I'm wrong, and I need to expose myself to that. I think once you say, this is what I believe in, this ideology, and I'm going to believe in everything that Marx said, or everything, whatever, right? Whoever it is, you're not thinking for yourself. You're an autonomon. You're a robot.
And then all of a sudden, though, but they're going to think that they're being attacked, according to the book that you and I both read.
Well, Bogosian
how to have difficult
Lindsay,
conversations.
What they're saying
impossible conversations,
and they've got a point. Is there's a psychological reason, I have no idea, I'm not an expert, there's a psychological reason why if someone disagrees with you politically, the vast majority of us take it like a personal slight.
Yes, yeah.
And you have to kind of get over that, because that and I get it, you feel that sort of weird, like, that's... But and
that's
a bit of you dies when you change your mind about something.
Yes, it does. What it is. But that's part of that you have to recognize as the ego, and then also just to I mean, that was the idea about... liberalism, I think, is a and the idea of becoming awake. I mean, it's very much a Buddhist talk about appropriation of culture. Awake, aware. Yeah, that's totally stealing from Buddhism. Yeah, this whole woke thing.
Well, we steal the best bits of other cultures, and that's what we should do.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Well, look, my family are Irish. I mean, if we hadn't stolen some cuisine from time to time, like, what would you be having? A carbohydrate high diet, just potatoes mashed up.
I had an international incident with the country of Spain because I made paella.
This is big news.
So I made paella on Christmas, and I said it's paella, and I had I cook in a traditional paella dish, and I love to make paella. But however, I cook the tourist version of paella, which I used chorizo, which is the original. The paella, the traditional paella, is rabbit and asparagus and rice, and it's a particular thing.
Well, you messed with the formula.
So I did, yeah. So I said, this is paella. And then I had an overflow dish. And I'd already cooked the paella, and I said, I forgot to take a picture of it and put it out for Christmas. So I had the overflow dish. In other words, I had like a lot of people here, and so we're cooking, and love to have you next time for our Christmas paella.
It's a great paella, by the way. Delicious.
Thank you. Honestly. So I had an overflow, so I made more, and I wanted to cook it. So I cooked it in a pan, and then I mix it together. I cooked it in a dish and put it baked it in the oven. And I cook. It's 2 days. I cook like the rice in a. Patricia, my lovely wife, makes this beautiful chicken soup, and then we cook the rice in the soup. And that's the base, and then we put it all together with the seafood, and then the beautiful. What's the herb that gives it the color? The
saffron.
Saffron, yeah, that beautiful saffron. But it's like they have like these in the. San Sebastian and other places in Spain, they'll have saffron contest where these old ladies will sit, and it's not very exciting to watch. They'll sit there and they'll take the saffron stem out of the flour, and they'll come back 5 hours later and they'll say who did the most, and then they take it all and they make a gigantic paella, and everybody drinks and eats, and it's fantastic. So anyways, I made this thing, and I made the mistake of taking a picture, and I put a lot of seafood in there because I had like a whatever, and it was just like, you know, like a lobster and just a bunch of crab and everything, and I just right on top, mixed in and everything, and I took a picture of it and I said, my paella for Christmas, blah, 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 and I put it in there. I didn't say overflow dish, or I didn't take the original picture. Anyway, they said, cultural appropriation, you paella, you bastard, that's not paella.
Yeah, I saw it on the news.
Yeah.
This was on the news?
Rob's paella, like,
Yes.
on articles, like I got, you know, I sign up for the Rob Schneider alert when there's an article about Rob Schneider.
Cultural
And
appropriation.
there was like several articles about
And
Rob
I mean,
Schneider.
El País. I mean, I'm talking about like the Spanish newspaper. I mean, like the big businessman, they said like, this is cultural appropriation.
I agreed with a
So
lot of
that's
what they
not, and the food critic, the national food critic said
Yeah.
to me, that's not paella. That
So
is cultural
right.
bastardization. That is things on rice.
Right, so my I have two simultaneous reactions to that, and one of them is how depressing and sad, and the other is how funny. Like that people have wasted their time on the. Do you know this happened? Do you know?
I had to apologize. I swear.
You shouldn't have.
I know I shouldn't have, but
No.
I did, because here's the thing. I love Spain so much. I love to vacation with my family, and I don't want to, like, you know, some chef at some kitchen.
Yeah, but you know what? Most Spanish people wouldn't give a damn.
I'm telling you, 760,000 people like retweeted this thing. But like, Jose Andres called me. Here's why I had to do it. He called me that night. He's a, you know, not just a great international chef from the school of Bouillet, the famous greatest restaurant in the world, which is closed now. But like, he's also owns he's the greatest chef in the world probably now. He's also a humanitarian.
Yeah,
he's nominated for like Nobel Prize on 60 Minutes. But he called me and said, "Listen, you need to apologize."
Oh, come on. Do you know
And
what?
I caved.
You know what? Yeah,
I caved.
most
You
of
got to
us-
come next time. Rob makes the best things on rice I've ever had.
Yeah, but I'd say so you could have made it just call it whatever on rice, and then
Yes.
it's like, but you know what?
But
you know,
because
have
I
you
used
heard
the
of,
term paella.
You have Jamie Oliver over here, right? He made it over here, did he?
Yes, yes.
So
They don't like him either.
Well, he got in trouble because he has a brand of food that you can buy in the supermarket in the UK,
Yeah.
and he created this thing called jerk rice, and of course jerk is a sort of Caribbean kind of
Totally, yeah. How dare you.
but he got it wrong. Like, the ingredients aren't traditionally what they should be. And a member of Parliament, Dawn Butler, who's a Labour MP, tweeted saying, "Your jerk rice is not okay. This is cultural appropriation," because that's what you want from your political representatives, to get involved with Twitter spats about rice. I mean, great.
I know.
Like, I'm not going to swear on your podcast, but you
No,
know,
no,
what?
you can.
My
It's all right.
instinct is to tell them where to go, and I think it's. I just think it's ghastly. You saw this. There was another one. It was an American girl, actually. She was going to a prom, and she wore this beautiful
I saw that,
Chinese dress,
And she looked lovely.
She looked amazing, and she was a young girl, and she put
And they
this
sell
out.
those dresses so people can buy them.
That's
They're
the
beautiful.
point. That's the point. And then this went out, and a Chinese American man tweeted, "This is cultural appropriation, you disgusting, you evil," whatever he called her.
Yeah. Isn't that
And
horrible?
it went all around the world. And what was great, though, is all these Chinese people chipping in saying, "He doesn't speak for us. You look amazing. Just keep doing what you're doing."
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, it's the reason why I say don't apologize and don't capitulate.
Yeah.
Is because they're a minority. They haven't got the weight. They've just got the power. They've just got that bullying thing of like, we're going to make your life hell until you do what we tell
I
you
know.
to do.
Yeah,
And
I
like,
felt like such a coward, but at the same time,
Hey, I'm not calling you a coward, like-
no, I was. No, because it's one of the few places.
stand
that-
up for your paella.
I know. I was a few places I like to travel with my family, and like, please, I can't. Okay, I'm going to say sorry for this one.
No, I get it. You
No,
know,
I know, but I was a coward. But you're right, though. And the thing about it is, like, it's usually it's not the people who were supposedly oppressed. It's people resenting those people oppressed.
it's people being offended on other people's behalf.
Yes,
Which I
Yeah.
absolutely can't stand, and I find it really patronizing. You know, like,
yeah, because it is like these people can't defend themselves.
well, I'll give you an example.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah, so there's a big outrage.
That's the underlying argument in this. Like, I'm going to defend them because they can't.
That's what I mean. The social justice movement undermines the causes it proclaims to support.
Yeah.
So, like, there was a big hoo-ha in England in the media about the new Star Wars film. There's a lesbian kiss which lasts for 2 seconds, and then people are like, "This, why isn't it going on? What do they want? Like a full lesbian sex scene in Star Wars?" Like, and you know, I don't need to see that. I don't need to see gay aliens making out to feel good about being gay. It's like
Finally,
like,
thank
it's
God.
like
Yeah,
how.
yeah.
how low is your opinion of gay people that you think that they need to see these pink stormtroopers and gay aliens? Like, I think it's patronizing minority groups. Like, just get out of my face.
Now, that's what I talk about, and it's very difficult because it's not any gay people in the audience that would have a problem with it.
No.
It's the people, like, because I talk about, like, and it's true. And you feel the audience really tighten up and talk about certain things, and they feel like, ooh, he's oppressing or he's going after certain. I said, like, hey, if you're white and gay and American, it peaked. In the gay marriage, it's been over since then.
Yeah.
It's like, sorry, not interesting enough anymore. You know, it's just not your time anymore. You might as well. You might as well eat pussy at this point because it just doesn't help you to be white and just be white and male and gay. And people don't like to go that area. But I do feel like it is like not interesting enough. And I do feel like there is some sentiment that I've seen from there's a gay politician in New York who just seems so angry at heterosexuals and society in general. And the legislation that he's putting out, this is Brad Holman in New York, is so
there's
anti-hetero.
Anti-hetero. Like that's why Titania is anti-hetero. I mean, she says this thing in the book about, like, future generations will thank us if we successfully eliminate heterosexuality. She thinks it's
that's so beautiful.
She thinks it's poison.
That's so beautiful. It's just not realizing that is the future of society.
She doesn't think things through, but it's like it's really, that's what I mean. It's divisive and damaging. And like when Peter Thiel came out of the Republican convention and supported the Republicans, and then and then the Advocate magazine, the gay magazine, said he's not really gay. No, actually, this is what they said. He does sleep with men, but he's not gay. So for them, being gay isn't sexuality.
No,
it's being a Democrat. It's
like if you don't think the way we think, then you're not part of us.
Right.
And that's what they should just come out and say that.
Right. Like Kanye,
you don't agree with us. Yeah.
Kanye is not black. If he puts on a MAGA hat, it's the same thing. Yeah. It's like that's why they talk about this stuff of whiteness. Whiteness isn't even about your skin color. Like, so there was a recent attack. I think it was in America, and it was I can't remember who was attacked, but it was between different people of color. So it was like it was black kids were attacked by Asian people, and they said that these Asian people, they were enacting whiteness. They were enacting whiteness. Wow. So even so in fact, anything relating to violence, it's nothing to do with being white.
Yeah,
it's like a concept. It's like a kind of taint. It's like an original sin.
Oh yeah,
it's like an Augustinian principle of original sin. You're just tainted by it, and that's why it's such a damaging, dangerous thing. Because if you say that people are just evil from birth because of their skin color, well, it's racist, isn't it? Let's just call that what it is.
Well, it is that foundational thinking, and it is religious in its implications and in its actions. It has this. You can't attack it, or you are.
And that's why they go after free speech. Because if they can control the things you're allowed to say,
the language,
I'm sorry, I was going to tell you about the hate speech laws in Britain.
Please
to clarify.
Oh yeah, why I would have been arrested.
You would have been arrested, right?
For a joke.
Because if you look at the government's website in the UK on hate crime, they talk about how a hate crime and hate crime statistics in the UK. Mm-hmm. If anyone phoned up the police and said, I was offended by your joke, they have to include that in the official hate crime statistics without investigation. And they say specifically, it's not about the intention of that person. It is about the perception of the victim. And note that they don't even use the word complainant. They use the word victim. So forget about presumption of innocence. That's gone too. Forget about our common law and everything. Right. So it's just if I perceive now that the way you're looking at me right now, I think you're homophobic right now, right? I feel slighted, and I feel that I don't know why I'm doing it at camp now, but that's really, I feel like I just feel it. I just know what you're thinking. I'm going to phone the police right now. Then that's a hate crime, right?
Because of how you felt.
It gets counted as a hate crime.
It's in the statistics, and not only that. I urge you to look at this website. Right? There's a paragraph on the official government hate crime website about non-crime hate incidents, right? There was a guy in Humberside in England got phoned up recently by the police, got investigated by the police for retweeting a supposedly transphobic poem. He didn't write the poem, he just retweeted the poem. And the policeman said to him, this is not a crime, it's a non-crime hate incident we have to investigate, right? The police are investigating non-crime because people have been not breaking the law for ages and getting away with it. It's outrageous. And he's saying, this is. He actually said to him, this was the phrase he used. He said, "We've got to check your thinking." Now that is straight out of Kafka. This is like, and that's standard police practice.
What would be a next step?
That is
for the
Orwellian.
police? Like, what could happen?
Right.
to
So,
this
so,
person.
so, of course, inevitably with this stuff, whenever this goes to like court or anything like this, it doesn't carry muster because it doesn't pass through. Okay. Well, it does to an extent. I mean, there was one girl in Liverpool who posted some rap lyrics on her Instagram as a tribute to her 13-year-old friend who was killed in a car accident. And it was his favourite song, right? And she posted these rap lyrics. And because the rap lyrics contained the N-word, she was arrested and prosecuted for hate speech just for posting it on the Instagram. She was fitted with an electronic ankle, a curfew for 6 months.
What?
She was fined. It eventually got overturned, but that's not. But this is the point. It got that far. Someone I know in Britain was prosecuted and found guilty for a joke video he made. The Nazi pug guy, and he did a film where his girlfriend was constantly going on about how cute her pug was. So he trained the dog to do a little Nazi salute whenever he said Sieg Heil and things like that. And he was. Look, you can find that offensive if you want. That's fine, but it was obviously meant to be funny, right? He's now got a criminal record for that, you know. So
really,
yeah.
I know. So what constitutes a criminal record?
Well, he's violated the hate speech law, specifically the.
So there was some court proceeding.
Oh, it went on for 2 years, and it became.
This is a comedian.
Well, he's a YouTube comedian who
Wow.
Well, he was.
Like you. So there's the
Hey,
Yeah,
that sounds
English elitism right there.
No. He is a comedian.
He's not a comedian. He's a YouTube comedian.
No, the reason I said that, look, he'd be really angry
That's
at me.
where that's where he's popular.
That's not like I booked him on my comedy night.
Okay.
He's done stand up. He's a comedian.
You having a YouTube comedy night?
I have a YouTube comedy night. So it's no. I say that because when he did the video, he had 8 subscribers and was just making stupid videos for his mates.
I saw you by the way getting it. I want you to get back to. Not to take you off course, but
Yeah, go on.
I saw your comedy night attacked by the Telegraph.
Yeah.
I read one of those articles. Just like these people think they can, you know.
Hey, it's better than that. So I've set up a comedy night once a month in London, right? And what we've said is, because a lot of comedy in London is quite safe.
Yes.
Everyone's joking about the same thing. Everyone's saying
everyone's
Brexit,
agreeing.
Everyone's agreeing. It's just sermons with a punchline, right?
Yeah.
And often not even a punchline. I mean,
yes, it's reassurances.
It's what someone said about, like, you know, it's a progressive audience if the progressive act if the audience are applauding more than they're laughing, and that's sort of what it is. Is people like, I want to agree with you, and so what we've said is, look, this isn't a safe space. People might be offended. Comedy shouldn't be a safe space. So we're going to do one night a month, and we get comedians coming in who want to try stuff out that they know they can't do at other clubs, and it's really fun. But because we've done that, we've been branded a right-wing comedy night, even a far-right comedy night, who just want racists and all the rest. It's like, this is ridiculous. We haven't had a I don't want a racist on my stage. Well, it's not funny. You know, so we... Anyway...
So you have you have a comedy night.
So it's called Comedy Unleashed, and we've now got a YouTube channel. You should check it out because because it's getting very popular now because the stuff people generally don't mock, like Greta Thunberg or the environmental movement.
Oh, yeah.
We have acts who do all of that, and it's like,
good.
and
Thank
like
God.
it's not.
I want my information to come from a 16-year-old.
Right, exactly. It's something quite.
So that's the Khmer. See, the thing that's so funny about that because a 16-year-old, you know, you can't make fun of over here even. You know, it's funny because that's the Khmer Rouge. They had 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
That's who they chose specifically to go out and kill the intellectuals,
right,
and the teachers and the professors, and to find out because they had no problem in it.
So this is what
it's
a really good strategy because if you look like you're a bully, if you have a go at something that a 16-year-old is saying. So if you want like republicanism to do, if the right wingers want to do, they need to get like a disabled black kid who's 12 who says who believes in their fiscal policy and just push that, and then they'll be fine. You know, no one's going to touch them. But like, so we have comics who make fun of all this stuff, and then this awful guy from Vice magazine is like really woke, really woke, right? They didn't used to be, but they are now. In fact, it was Gavin McInnes at first.
That's right.
But now it's super woke. This guy, he said he wrote a hit piece. He said he did an undercover. He basically infiltrated the comedy night. Well, he bought a ticket. Like anyone could buy a ticket, you know. Yeah. And he just lied about the night. He was saying like there were 5 acts on. He said there was 1 token left-wing act. Actually, on that night, there were 4 left-wing acts and 1 right-wing act. He just lied. And the best thing about it was he was going around the audience in the interval saying, "Oh, what do you think of gay people? What do you think of Muslims?" He was determined to prove that the audience were all racist homophobes, and none of them were.
He had his agenda.
It was really funny.
Okay, we're going to take another little break.
Are we?
Get back on this.
I'm rabbiting away.
See what happens. You know. No, I love it. So this is See What Happens. You're talking to Andrew Doyle, the mind behind Titania McGrath, and his book "Woke: A Guide to Social Justice." It's available everywhere now, and it's available over here.
It is now. Yeah.
Now you can. Okay, and so we're going to talk back with some of your projects and things. We come right back on See What Happens after this. And we got some dates coming up, Jamie.
We do.
Where are we going to be, buddy?
So, Rob, you'll be at the Comedy Works South Tuesday, January 28th. That's in Greenwood Village, Colorado, which is basically Denver, right?
Yeah. Well, that's downtown Denver.
Great room.
I might be there. I'm not sure.
I'll be performing at Comedy Doesn't Work that night.
Oh,
come on.
Okay, and then what else? Where am I going to be? La Jolla on Wednesday. I'm going to be there.
February 5th.
February 5th, yeah, at the Comedy Store, LA. The Comedy Store, La Jolla. That's going to be fun. I'm doing a bunch of gigs, getting ready for my comedy special that I'm shooting, and that's going to be February 29th in Salt Lake City at the Gene Wagner Theater. All right, so the first couple shows are sold out, but I think we might be adding a show there because we're going to be shooting it, and I'd love to have you come out. I love shooting. I love being at Salt Lake City. It's such a great crowd, and I'd like to have you come out. It'd be great to have you. I'm going to be at the Funny Bone. I'll be Tampa, Florida. That's Friday the 7th of February and the 8th of February. And then I'm going to be at the Funny Bone Toledo. I haven't been there in 10 years. And that's the 13th of February. And then the Funny Bone Liberty Township, Ohio, which is a great little room. It's like basically Cincinnati there. And that's the 14th of February and the 15th of February. Okay? And then Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, Royal Oak. I've only been there one other time, about 5-6 years ago. Royal Oak, that's going to be February 16th. And
one night.
Yeah, one night. Okay.
Great room.
And then Improv Raleigh. I'll be there February 21st and 22nd. Hi, Madeline. And then that's it.
You're also there the 23rd. You have a Sunday show.
Oh my God, I did not agree to that. That'll be fun. and then I'll be with you in Washington D.C. at the DC Improv, 24th and 25th. Well, Monday, Tuesday. That'll be fun.
Awesome.
And we're gonna have to take a little break, and then we'll come back to the second half of this. We're talking, of course, to our good friend Andrew Doyle, and his book is Woke: A Guide to Social Justice. Titania McGrath, you got to get this, and you can do it. Let's see what happens. Thanks for listening.